Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at some stuff that you've probably thought about before, which is like how some of history's most influential philosophies have kind of been like twisted and distorted, like misunderstood. Yeah.
Big time.
So you sent us this really fascinating article about how like ideas from like Machiavelli and Hobbes get thrown around.
Yeah.
But often without like their original context.
Right.
So we're here to set the record straight with a little help from our expert.
It's really amazing how these philosophies almost become like catchphrases.
Yeah.
And they're just like detached from the nuances of what these thinkers actually argued.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like how often do we hear Machiavellian and instantly think ruthless dictator?
Right.
So let's just start there.
Yeah.
Was Machiavelli actually advising rulers to be heartless and power-hungry?
It's way more complicated than that.
Okay.
To really grasp Machiavelli, we need to picture like the world of Renaissance Italy. His book, The Prince, wasn't meant to be like a guide to villainy or something like that.
Right.
It was really a pragmatic analysis of how rulers could secure their state's survival.
Okay.
Amidst all these
Got it.
all these constant threats.
So less evil mastermind
Pretty much.
and more political strategist.
Exactly. And while Machiavelli did say that a ruler shouldn't shy away from tough decisions, he also stressed the importance of maintaining public support.
Oh, interesting.
So in chapter 7 of The Prince, he writes, "It makes him contemptible to be considered fickle, frivolous, effeminate, mean-spirited, irresolute."
Wow.
Not exactly qualities of a tyrant, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying, yes, strength is vital, but a ruler also needs the people on their side.
Right.
Otherwise, that strength just crumbles.
Exactly. Machiavelli even argued that sometimes it's wiser for a prince to be loved than feared, though ideally both.
Right.
It's about being adaptable, reading the situation and acting accordingly.
So that's so different from the Machiavellian schemes we often picture.
Totally.
This misinterpretation, I feel like, has some real-world consequences, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Like, think about how many times leaders have invoked Machiavelli to justify actions that are self-serving and harmful to their people.
Yeah.
This misreading has been used to excuse everything from power grabs to silencing opposition.
Right.
Which Machiavelli himself may have found appalling.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've kind of busted the myth of Machiavelli as like a purely ruthless figure.
Yeah.
Now, what about Hobbes?
Hobbes?
Wasn't he all about that life is nasty, brutish, and short?
Hobbes gets a bad rap for being cynical.
Right.
But remember, he was writing during a time of immense upheaval.
Yeah.
The English Civil War.
Right.
His masterpiece, Leviathan, describes a state of nature where humans are driven by self-preservation.
Okay.
Which can be pretty bleak.
It does make you want to crawl under a rock and hide. But I'm guessing there's more to it than just humans are bad.
Right. Hobbes wasn't saying we're inherently evil.
Okay.
But rather that without rules, our pursuit of self-interest would lead to chaos.
Yeah.
Think about it like this.
Okay.
What if there were no traffic laws?
Oh, that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Everyone's just doing whatever they want on the roads.
Exactly. Complete mayhem.
Yeah.
So Hobbes argued that we enter this thing called a social contract.
Okay.
Willingly giving up some freedoms for the sake of security and order. It's like we're all agreeing to follow the traffic lights so we don't crash into each other.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes the social contract way more relatable.
Right.
But didn't Hobbes also believe in like a super strong ruler?
He did.
Doesn't that sound a bit dictator-ish?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's one that Hobbes grappled with, too.
Right.
He did believe that a strong sovereign was necessary.
Okay.
But he emphasized that this power should come from the consent of the governed.
Okay. So not just any dictator, but one who serves the people's need for like peace and security.
Likely.
So it's about a balance of power.
Yeah.
The people giving up some freedom in exchange for protection, but that ruler being held accountable to them.
Precisely. It's a delicate dance.
Yeah.
And history is full of examples where that balance has gone wrong.
Right.
But that core idea of the social contract,
Yeah.
it's still relevant.
Totally.
We see it in democracies, where we elect leaders and we agree to abide by laws even if we don't always love them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We've covered Machiavelli and Hobbes, who both dealt with power and leadership, but in very different ways.
Totally.
Now let's jump to Nietzsche.
Nietzsche.
I feel like his ideas have been especially prone to misunderstandings.
Oh, yeah.
To say the least.
Big time. It's almost tragic how Nietzsche's work has been distorted, particularly by the Nazis.
Oh, yeah.
They latched onto his concept of the Übermensch, or overmen, to promote their hateful ideology.
Yeah, the whole Superman idea seems tailor-made for a twisted interpretation.
Yeah, it's really been misused.
But did Nietzsche actually believe in some master race destined to rule?
Not at all.
Okay.
He was actually disgusted by nationalism and anti-Semitism, which were core tenets of Nazism.
Right.
The Übermensch was all about individual self-overcoming, striving for excellence, and rejecting herd mentality.
So it's more about personal growth and pushing your own boundaries than dominating others.
Exactly. It's about embracing life's challenges and creating your own values, not blindly following the crowd.
Right.
And it's definitely not about racial superiority.
Right.
In fact, Nietzsche wrote, "Every elevation of the type man has hitherto been the work of an aristocratic society."
Interesting.
He saw the potential for greatness in individuals, not entire groups defined by something as arbitrary as race.
Wow, so that's the complete opposite of how the Nazis used his ideas.
Totally a complete inversion.
It's crazy how they twisted his philosophy to fit their own agenda.
It just shows you that ideas can be powerful weapons, especially when taken out of context.
For sure.
And speaking of ideas that have been both championed and demonized, let's move on to Karl Marx.
Ah, yes, the father of communism.
Yeah.
His name alone sparks intense debate.
Absolutely.
But before we dive into all the political baggage, what was at the heart of Marx's philosophy?
At his core, Marx was deeply concerned with social justice. He witnessed the brutal conditions of industrial-era capitalism, where workers were often exploited for the profit of a few.
So he was trying to create a fairer system where everyone benefits.
That was the goal. He envisioned a classless society where the means of production, factories, resources, and so on, are owned collectively rather than by a wealthy elite. This would, in theory, eliminate the power imbalances that lead to exploitation.
That sounds pretty utopian.
It does.
But history tells a different story, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
The Soviet Union, China under Mao. These regimes claimed to be Marxist.
But
they were incredibly oppressive.
You've hit on a major point of contention. Those regimes claimed Marx's mantle, but they implemented a distorted version of his ideas. They focused on centralized control and state power, which is ironic because Marx actually believed that the state would eventually wither away in a truly communist society.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they basically took the workers of the world unite part and skipped the no more state control part.
Pretty much. And those authoritarian regimes used this twisted version of Marxism to justify suppressing individual rights and silencing dissent, which was the antithesis of what Marx intended.
It's fascinating and a little bit terrifying how a philosophy aimed at equality can be warped into something so oppressive.
It's really disturbing.
Does that mean Marx's ideas were inherently flawed?
It's not that simple. Marx's analysis of capitalism and its potential for exploitation was insightful, and his critique of power structures still resonates today.
But the practical implementations of his ideas have been, well, problematic, to say the least.
It makes you think about the fine line between revolution and tyranny.
Absolutely.
And speaking of revolutionizing our understanding of the world, let's talk about Charles Darwin. His theory of evolution by natural selection shook things up big time.
It really did.
Darwin is a prime example of how a scientific theory can be misappropriated for social and political agendas.
Yeah, that whole survival of the fittest thing gets thrown around a lot.
All the time.
Often to justify some pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah.
So let's set the record straight. Well, what was Darwin actually saying?
Darwin was explaining the incredible diversity of life on Earth through the process of natural selection. Organisms with traits better suited to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce. Passing those traits on over time, this leads to new species evolving.
So it's about adaptation and change. Not some kind of competition where the strong crush the weak.
Exactly. It's about how life has changed over millions of years. Not a blueprint for social engineering or justification for inequality.
But that's exactly what happened, right?
Unfortunately.
People took Darwin's ideas and twisted them into social Darwinism. Using survival of the fittest to justify racism, imperialism, even eugenics.
It was a gross distortion of Darwin's work.
Wow.
He was horrified by these interpretations.
Yeah.
His theory was about explaining biological phenomena, not validating social hierarchies.
It's a cautionary tale for sure.
Yeah.
Science can be a powerful tool.
It is.
But it can also be dangerously misused.
It can.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Ready to tackle a couple more.
Absolutely. Let's dive into existentialism.
Okay.
A philosophy that often gets painted as gloomy and nihilistic.
Right.
But is actually quite liberating.
Okay, I'm intrigued. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Have you ever felt like life is absurd? Like there's no grand plan, and we're all just making things up as we go along.
More often than I care to admit.
Right.
Especially on Mondays.
Well, that's the starting point for existentialism.
Okay.
Thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus embraced this absurdity.
Okay.
They argued that since there's no inherent meaning to existence,
Right.
we are free to create our own.
So it's less about despair.
It's not about despair at all.
And more about taking ownership.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose who we want to be and what we want to believe in.
Okay.
It's daunting.
Yeah.
But it's also exhilarating.
Right. I can see that.
Yeah.
But wait, isn't there like a contradiction?
Yeah.
If nothing has inherent meaning, doesn't that mean our choices are meaningless too?
It's not about the universe giving our choices meaning.
Right.
It's about us giving them meaning through our actions and our commitments.
I see.
Yeah, it's like Sartre said, man is condemned to be free. We're burdened with the responsibility of making choices, but those choices are what define us.
Wow. That's a powerful thought.
It is.
It's not nihilistic.
No.
It's empowering.
It's very empowering.
It's like saying, hey, the world might be a mess,
yeah,
but you have the power to make something meaningful out of it.
That's the spirit. It's about finding purpose.
Right.
In a seemingly purposeless world.
Yeah, I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
So we've covered Machiavellianism, Hobbesian philosophy, Nietzsche, Marx, Darwinism, and existentialism.
That's a lot.
What else do we have on the docket?
Let's wrap up with two more commonly misunderstood philosophies.
Okay.
Realpolitik and Stoicism.
Okay.
All right.
All right, realpolitik, I always picture shady backroom deals and like a disregard for ethics.
Yeah.
Am I totally off base?
Not entirely. Realpolitik does have that pragmatic, sometimes hard-nosed reputation.
Right.
But it's not about being inherently unethical.
Okay.
It's about understanding the realities of power and national interest in international relations.
So less about being a villain.
Right.
More about playing the game strategically.
Think of it like a game of chess.
Okay.
You need to anticipate your opponent's move,
Weigh
the costs and benefits of different actions,
right,
and be prepared to make tough decisions.
So does that mean morality goes out the window?
Oh.
It's all just about winning?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Realpolitik recognizes that idealism has its limits.
Right.
In a world where power dynamics often dictate the course of events,
okay,
it's about working within those constraints, not ignoring them.
Can you give us like a real-world example?
Sure, look at Otto von Bismarck,
Okay.
the Iron Chancellor who unified Germany.
Right.
He was a master of realpolitik.
Okay.
He used diplomacy, alliances, and even military force when necessary
Wow.
to advance Prussia's interests.
Okay.
And ultimately create a unified German state.
He definitely sounds like he played hardball.
He did.
But did he throw ethics completely out the window?
Bismarck was a pragmatist.
Okay.
But he wasn't a monster. Right. He understood that stability and a balance of power are crucial for lasting peace.
Okay.
He was also a skilled negotiator who often preferred diplomacy to war.
So realpolitik is more nuanced than just might makes, right?
It is.
It's about understanding the complexities of power and using a variety of tools to achieve your goals.
Exactly. It's a philosophy that requires careful consideration and a clear-eyed assessment of the world as it is,
right,
not as we wish it would be.
Okay. I'm starting to see the strategic side of it, even if it can be a bit unsettling at times.
Yeah.
Now let's switch gears to Stoicism.
Stoicism.
I have to admit, I find Stoicism really intriguing.
Yeah?
It seems like such a practical philosophy for dealing with the ups and downs of life.
It absolutely is. Stoicism, which originated in ancient Greece,
Okay.
offers a powerful framework for navigating challenges
Yeah.
and cultivating inner peace.
When I think of Stoicism, I think of staying calm and composed,
Yeah.
even in the face of chaos.
That's a big part of it.
Is that like the main idea?
It's a key part of it.
Okay.
Stoics believed in accepting what we cannot control
Right.
and focusing our energy on what we can, like our own thoughts and actions.
Okay.
They emphasized reason and virtue as paths to happiness.
So it's not about suppressing your emotions completely?
No, it's more about understanding them.
Okay.
And not letting them dictate your behavior.
Gotcha.
The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "You become what you give your attention to."
Ah.
He believed we have a choice in how we respond to external events.
That makes sense. It's like choosing to focus on solutions.
Right.
Rather than dwelling on problems.
Exactly. And Stoicism provides a whole toolkit for doing just that.
Okay.
Practices like journaling mindfulness and reflecting on role models can help cultivate a Stoic mindset.
This makes me think about the quote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters."
That's the essence of Stoicism in a nutshell.
Wow.
It's a philosophy that emphasizes resilience, self-control, and finding meaning in the face of adversity.
Wow, we've covered so much ground today.
We have.
It's incredible how these philosophies, even the ones that seem really different on the surface, all offer insights into how we can navigate the complexities of life.
They do. It's a reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
These thinkers were grappling with fundamental questions about power, society, human nature, and the meaning of existence.
Yeah.
Their ideas continue to resonate centuries later because they offer different lenses through which we can view the world.
It's like we've gone on a philosophical treasure hunt, uncovering hidden gems of wisdom along the way.
I like that.
I have to say, I feel a lot more equipped to handle whatever life throws my way now.
That's great to hear.
To our awesome listener who suggested this deep dive, thank you for sending us on this fascinating journey.
And to everyone listening, what resonated with you most today?
Yeah.
What new insights did you gain? Which of these philosophies sparked your curiosity?
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
This deep dive has only scratched the surface. Right. There's a whole world of philosophical thought out there waiting to be explored.
Absolutely.
So keep questioning, keep learning, and most importantly, keep diving deep.